Blendy, whenever you're ready.
All right, we're on the record, 10:36.
We're about to begin. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City's Thursday, July 14th, 2022 hearing docket. My name is Nicholas Blendy. I'm the Deputy Executive Secretary, and there are a few matters postponed, and when I get to them, I will just make note of that for the record. Mr. Chair?
Yes, let's proceed.
The first items on the docket are regular items. Item number 1 has been postponed and will be rescheduled at a later date. Item number 2, Canton Pinnacle LLC, trading as Uno Pizzeria and Grill, 3821 Boston Street. This is an amended application to transfer ownership with continued outdoor table service. I do know that the council is on vacation. Is anyone here for this case? Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
All right, come on up and
Mary Yazdi and Leanne Christopher appearing on behalf of Canton Pinnacle.
thank you. Would you raise your right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
And tell us your name again, sir.
Amir Yazdi, Y-A-Z-D-A.
Okay. And this is an amended application. Have we heard this before?
Yes, sir.
We did? Okay. Did we approve you?
We did. So the transfer was approved in April of 2021, and then the board approved a hardship extension on January 27th of 22, and we filed an amendment to the application to have Ms. Christopher added as licensee.
So that's the only reason you're here this morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is she just the resident agent? She's the local?
She's my
person?
director of operations.
Oh, she's gonna be active in this.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. And does she have an ownership interest in it?
She's a member of the LLC.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about your background, ma'am?
I've been with Uno's for 15 years. I was a general manager for many years, and for the past 3 years, I've been the regional director.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You handed me something. So you got a letter of support from the Canton Community Association?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, this will be received. Okay, so you've been with them for 15 years. You know what you're doing, and you know our rules and regulations?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you tip certified?
Yes.
And will the people who handle alcohol also be certified?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No comment. No questions.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the amended application, as well as our prior findings with respect to this, and for the limited purpose of adding Ms. Christopher to this license, on the basis of the testimony provided, I vote to approve the amended application to transfer ownership with continued outdoor table service. Commissioners?
Based upon the application, the testimony, I too would approve the amended application to transfer ownership with the continuation of outdoor table service.
Based on testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the amended application to transfer ownership with continuation of outdoor table service.
Thank you, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Like exhibits for the record, Board Exhibit 1, letter of support from Canton Community Association.
That concludes this matter before the board. Applicants and their counsel will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to legally complete the transfer that was preliminarily approved today by the board, which by law, and as you well know, must occur within 180 days of today's hearing.
Thank you. Let's go to the next one.
Item number 3 on the regular items, 313 North Charles Food Group LLC, trading as Good Food. Premises are located at 313 North Charles. This is a request for a transfer hardship extension of 90 days under the provisions of Alcoholic Beverages Article 121705B of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. David F. Mister, Mr. Winter Bartlett, LLC, representing the applicant. Mr. Keynes, who is here to my right, the board's left, and is prepared to give you a status report in support of our request for a hardship extension of this.
Proper, or you want to have him testify?
I'm
Do you want to proffer or have him testify?
Well, let's have him testify.
Okay,
'Cause he
would you
knows
raise
the
your right
facts
hand,
there.
please,
Go
sir?
ahead.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name again, sir?
Bryson Keynes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you want to tell us?
We are still in the process. The place was left in a really bad state of repair, so we've got general contractors hired. We have a consultant for the permitting process hired. We have the steam cleaners for the hoods and the equipment hired and ready to go. They've actually started. We just need a little bit more time, I believe, in order for us to get it open, but we're right on track to do so.
Do you have an estimated date?
We're thinking
Well, we're hoping that we can be open in September. I think our blow-up date would be October 10, I believe, or we may have to file an amended application. Just by way of background for the board, my clients who own this property were secured creditor. They had taken the license back, and then when they did not find an appropriate tenant to come in, of course the condition of the property was a problem, they set up their own entity and applied for it. We're still looking around, see if we can find an appropriate tenant. If not, we're opening the business, and the biggest problem we've been having, frankly, is getting appropriate permits from the city.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis then of your letter, Mr. Mister, of June 8, 2022, with the request for the hardship extension and the testimony received this morning, vote to approve a 90-day transfer hardship extension for this license. Commissioners?
Based upon the letter from Mr. Mister on June 8th, as well as the testimony from Mr. Keynes, I too would grant the request for a transfer hardship extension for 90 days.
Based on the testimony and materials provided today, I also approve the request for transfer hardship extension of 90 days.
Thank you.
No,
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good day.
That concludes this matter before the board. Council will receive follow-up correspondence from this agency with the results of today's proceedings. Shall we move forward, Mr. Chair?
Please.
Moving into the violations docket, item number 1 on the violations docket, Cathedral Rock Incorporated, trading as Jerry's Bar, 604-06 Poplar Grove Street. Holder of a Class A7 beer, wine, and liquor license is charged with one violation of the board's rules. That is a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, dating from an incident on April the 7th, 2022.
For the record, Melvin J. Kanensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the licensees.
Morning, Mr. Kadensky. Is this an admission or a denial?
We'll do an admission.
Okay. Do you want to proffer, or you want to have
Yes,
testify?
the individuals that are here, the licensee, the lady they have been working there has been working there for quite some time. It's not an excuse, by way of explanation. Her eyesight's not very good. So what they're going to do is they're going to go and try to get a card reader, instead for her. They've had other problems, back in 2020. I think this will rectify the situation, and I'm recommending that to almost all the people who get these card readers, so they can, at least have some other verification of what the who the person is there, and hopefully that'll solve the problem.
So they have the reader? Or,
They do not.
It's
They're
been
gonna-
since April. They haven't.
Yeah, and the lady was out of the country, so once she came back, I started talking to her, and they went. A lot of people were going back to Korea. And when she came back, I met with her and her husband, and that's what we decided to do.
Okay. And who, Inspector Robinson or Tuttle, which one of you? You want to raise your right hand and...
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Inspector Walter Robinson.
And Inspector, can you tell us whether they were cooperative with you and whether you've had other difficulties with them?
They were very cooperative. I've had no further difficulties.
Okay. Commissioners, have any
No
questions?
questions.
Just a comment. I mean, Mr. Kudinski, it's nice that they'll get a card reader, but it sounds like, based on the fact patterns, they're not even asking for the card.
Yeah, and that was a problem because in a situation with after COVID, people got very lax and they shouldn't have. And I don't think it's anything you're not going to see over and over again. And I think at this point here, besides what you're going to tell them and I'm going to tell them, Lisa Lamar, they should not be doing it. And if they do, I can't. It's tough to go ahead and do it. And I'm just talking with Dave Mister. We see the same thing in the county, and they're recommending, if they can, for people to get these card readers.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Kaniewski?
No.
All right. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, a proffer from counsel including an admission of the violation and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales of minor, on April 7, 2022. This would be the fourth sale to minor since 2011. I'll impose a $1,000 fine and give them 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
Based upon the charging document, the proffer, the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on April 7th, 2022, and concur with the imposition of a $1,000 fine.
Yes, based on testimony and materials provided today, The admission, I also agree with the chair's findings. A violation of 401A, sale to minors on April 7th, 2022, and the fine of $1,000.
Like call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1. Violation report, Inspector Robinson. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto.
Thank you. Good luck.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee has received results of today's findings and instructions on how to pay the fine and any fees that are incidental to the fine that was imposed by the board. Next matter, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Item number 2 on the violations docket, Muna LLC, trading as Busy Bee. Premises are located at 4500 to 04 Erdman Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license charged with one violation of the board's rules, Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, from an incident on April 27th, 2022.
For the record, Melvin J. Konensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the licensee.
Admission or denial?
It'll be an admission.
Okay. You want to tell us what happened?
In this case, the gentleman here was away. He went back to his country for a while, and the person who was there working was lax and didn't follow the rules. So when he came back, he discharged the person who was working there, fired him. And here's another one I've explained to him. He has to check everybody, and also recommended to him to get the card readers, which I think is, they get, some POS systems comes with card readers attached to them, but you can get a separate card reader, which is I'm recommending to all the people to get that way. At least they said they swiped them. To your point, if they don't check at all, I mean, that's just, stupid is as stupid does. I mean, that's why they're here and they're paying the penalty for it.
Well, in both this case and the case before it, it sounds as though the licensee is not always present. He's out of the country. That's a difficult way to run an establishment like this, and it's going to run into fines and suspensions over time. It needs more oversight, but we'll see where it goes. Commissioners have questions?
No question.
No questions.
Inspector, you want to step up, please, and raise your right hand?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Your name, please.
Inspector Cindy Lee Tudhope.
Good morning, Inspector. And were they cooperative with you?
Yes, sir, they were.
Have you had other problems with them?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents and the admission, proper from counsel, which included an admission of the violation, and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a, sale to minor on April 27, 2022. This is the third since 2017 for this licensee who's only had the license since 15, so I'd impose a $1,000 fine and give him 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
Based upon the charging document, the proffer, the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sale to minors on April 27, 2022, and concur with the imposition of a $1,000 fine.
Based on the testimony materials provided today, I also agree with the chair's findings. A violation of Rule 4.01A, sale to minors on April 27, 2022, and the fine of $1,000.
Ms. Russell?
Like call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, violation report, Inspector Tudhope. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective LeBron.
All right, thank you. Good luck.
That concludes this matter before the board. Council and licensees will receive correspondence from this agency with instructions on how to pay the fine and any fees that are incidental to the fine. Next matter, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Item number 3 on the violations docket, MVP Entertainment LLC, trading as Latin American Flavor. Premises are located at 3601 Pulaski Highway. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license charged with one violation of the board's rules, that is 4.01A, sales to minors, stemming from an incident on April 27, 2022.
This, for the record, Melvin J. Konensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the licensees.
Admission or denial, Mr.
This will be admission, and I guess for want of a better word, in the middle of your docket, it's refreshing that this is the first time you've seen the licensee and the individuals, and the licensee is here, and the person who's running the place is also there. They going to remedy the situation again by making sure they have all their people alcohol certified, because that's one of the things that we've been trying to get people to do. And I know you make that comment, Mr. Chairman, and also recommended to them to get the card readers. And there used to be the health department that did it. I don't know if they're still doing it, but I'm going to recommend they go follow with the card readers.
Okay. Inspector Tudhope, you're still under oath. Were they cooperative with you?
Yes, sir, they were.
Any other problems with them?
No, sir.
All right. Commissioners?
No question.
No question.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kadensky, on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, your proffer, including the admission of the violation on behalf of your client, and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.01, small a, sale to minor on April 27, 2022. It is their first offense, and they've had the license since 4. So I'll impose a $500 fine and give them 30 days to pay.
Based upon the charging document, the proffer, and the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sale to minors on April 27, 2022, and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine.
Based on the testimony provided today, I also agree with the chair's findings of violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 27, 2022, and a fine of $500.
Right, Exhibit for the record, Board Exhibit 1, violation report, Inspector Tudhope.
Thank you. Good luck, folks.
That concludes this matter before the board. Council and licensees will receive instructions on how to pay the fine imposed today and any attendant fees that go along with that. Next matter.
Please.
Item number 4 on today's docket, Uzo LLC, trading as Goodfellas Lounge. Premises are located at 4919 Blair Road. Holders of a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license. Licensees are charged with 2 violations of the board's rules stemming from an incident on May 28, 2022. The first charge is a violation of Rule 4.14, live entertainment without authorization. And charge number 2 is violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, which is related to the evidence that may be presented regarding a charcoal hookah and a violation of the health code of Baltimore City.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the licensee. And we'll just take testimony, I think, on this one here.
Okay. You're still under oath, Inspector. You want to tell us what happened on May 28th?
Yes, sir. On May 26 at approximately 10:01, 311 complaint number 22-00404310 was received for 4919 Bel Air Road for the establishment known as Goodfellas for disturbing the peace, noise, loud music, and front door open. I, Inspector Tudhope, responded about 10:20. At the time of arrival, I found the music to be at acceptable level and the front door closed. Upon entering the establishment, I observed that there was a DJ playing music. I made contact with Mr. Rocky and asked to speak to him outside to make him aware of the 311 complaint. At the time, we were joined by Inspector Washington. I, Inspector Tudhope, informed Mr. Rocky that he had received a complaint about the music and found the music to be in compliance, but that he did not have live entertainment on his license. I issued him a verbal warning for having live entertainment. I, Inspector Tudhope, and Inspector Washington left establishment without further incident. On May 28th at approximately 12:21 a.m., a 311 complaint number 22-00407729 was received for 4919 Bel Air Road for the establishment known as Goodfellas Lounge for disturbing the peace, loud noise, music, and front door open. I, Inspector Tudhope, responded at approximately 12:28 a.m. At the time of arrival, I found the music to be at acceptable level and the front door was closed. I, Inspector Tudhope, did observe people outside the establishment across the street playing music at an elevated level out of their car with doors open. Upon entering the establishment, I, Inspector Tudhope, observed a DJ playing music. I observed patrons smoking charcoal hookah inside. I, Inspector Tudhope, made contact with Mr. Rocky. I informed him that he would be receiving a violation for live entertainment for having people smoking charcoal hookah inside the building. I, Inspector Tudhope, left with the establishment without further incident.
Cross-examination.
Just with regard to the whole time that you were there, they were very cooperative with you. Is that correct?
He is cooperative, but he is argumentative too.
Yeah, because there's a question about the live entertainment, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You get the definition of live entertainment from where?
The rules and regulations.
Of the liquor board?
Yes, sir.
So you're saying any DJ, whether they're talking, not talking, or just they're displaying things, is live entertainment as far as you're concerned?
I believe the rule says through amplified speakers or microphone, and he had both.
So was he talking?
He was not talking at the time I was there, no.
So if you have amplified speakers, so if you had Sirius or you had XM or so forth through speakers, you think that's live entertainment? I'm not saying you think. you would say that's live entertainment?
No.
Okay, so if they're showing a video and there's music playing and he's not saying anything like, here comes up, We Are the Champions by AC/DC or something, that's not live entertainment. That would be live entertainment. If he was talking, he wasn't talking, is that correct?
He had a whole board in front of him,
Right,
a DJ
music
board,
board,
yeah,
right.
which is a
And
DJ.
he would change. DJ means disc jockey, which is really a misnomer nowadays. We don't do that anymore. But that was what you're saying. He was argumentative about, because he thought that as long as he wasn't talking, it was okay. I'm not putting words in your way, don't. Okay. And you're nodding in the affirmative for the record. And then as far as the charcoal hookah, is that a liquor board violation?
It is not, but it is a public
Okay.
safety
So
violation.
It's a public safety violation under what?
Public safety, charcoal hookah inside a
Can
building.
you cite me under what section that's a public safety violation?
I don't have the rules and regulations in front of me
One
right
second.
now, sir.
So, but that is not a liquor board violation. Specifically, other than being a public safety, I don't want to.
But he's been charged under our rules for illegal conduct because of violation of public safety.
But the legal conduct would have to be.
We don't have a hookah rule, if that's what you're
Nobody has
asking.
a hookah. Nobody knows what hookah is. Thank you.
Okay. Did you want to present testimony or anything?
I think, I'm not saying the argument is, but the discussion is whether or not if the DJ is just putting on, different performances, as though as if you changed, you had XM, or you had radio, or you had anything else on TV, and you're changing it with speakers, I don't think it's live entertainment. I don't think it was.
Let me understand. You have a whole setup for a DJ, but there's no one,
They have
nobody's doing the
They
talking.
have a soundboard. That's what it is.
Okay. And
So, I mean, that doesn't.
and someone sets up music from it on a regular basis, right? Without doing the commentary that a
Right.
DJ would do.
So if you want to make a change, like if you went into a recording studio, there's a soundboard there. That engineer is not a DJ. He's just operating a soundboard, changing the different things. Today, in today's venues, besides having the sounds, you have the videos, that you see along with it. So a lot of the people come in want to see the performers doing the video. So they would come in and say, maybe for some of us here that I'm looking at, you might say, can you do Elvis American Trilogy from Hawaii? Because I like it. And they would put it up there for you. And you would have, and give another example, I come in on a Sunday and you have the Pittsburgh Steelers on all your things. I don't want this, take the Steelers off. So then they put the Ravens on. If I'm not up there announcing everything, I maintain that's not live entertainment. The hookah thing, I'm not really not sure anybody knows what that is. It's usually a health department violation, if there is any, but we don't have any here. That would be my argument.
Mr. Chair, can I read in for the record one matter of law?
Yeah, go ahead.
Attached in the commissioner's binders and related to the underlying hookah charge is Title 12 in its entirety of the health article of Baltimore City, which regulates tobacco products and smoking devices, and the Clean Indoor Air Act is referenced in there. And then also Chapter 3 in its entirety of the Building Fire-Related Codes of Baltimore City, which references the International Fire Code, which prohibits open flames. Those are the underlying city ordinances that incorporate this international code that are the basis of the 416 violation, for the record.
We don't have anybody from the fire department or the health department who says that's what it is. This qualifies to be a violation of that. We had cases here where they would come in and somebody from environmental control would be there and they would go there and say, oh, there's a lit cigar over here, and that's a violation of what we're talking about. We don't have that. That's my argument.
Okay. I wanted to ask Inspector, so if you came into the establishment and he had a screen showing Elvis singing, would you have charged him?
No, sir.
Okay, so we're redoing our rules. I think we might need to revisit this rules to bring it up to 2021, 22 standards, because it may be a bit dated.
I can say, sir, that he has a laptop in front of him. He has the soundboard. He had a speaker connected to his mouth. So even though I might have not heard him at the time, there was a speaker connected to his mouth, or microphone, should I say, and he was mixing music. To me, that is a disc jockey, and that's why I charged it. And I gave him a warning the previous day.
Okay.
My only argument is that doesn't make it a violation. And then, I guess if you're going to be changing your rules, I said on the last Rules Committee, I would hope you get some of us involved in it, because I don't know how many people have owned a bar or a restaurant and so forth to get the input. I've owned a bar and a nightclub, so I know what it is.
So has the commissioner to my right.
I think it was a memory of family. We are family. And in Baltimore County, you may or may not know that one of the commissioners is a former owner, and he has very good input at times in some of the hearings, because it's hard unless you're in the biz, so to speak.
I agree. I think it's helpful. I have this question. So your client's record shows in recent times all these prohibited hours violations. Now, this was COVID-related charges other than the sale to minor back in April?
I'm thinking so, but this is...
You didn't represent him?
Not in 2018.
Here, but this is not after
And
hours.
goes back to 2017 and 18 before COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was not a sound violation here when I think the inspector was right on point, is that it wasn't, when she came in, it was on an acceptable level. So we're like in between the two. And I know, and I think it's sort of a de minimis type situation.
Okay. Commissioners have anything?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do have an issue, a concern about the prohibited hours. They do have a long history of violations on that. But my question, Counselor, is that when the customers come in and it's set up, the sound system's set up, do they have sing-alongs? I mean, are you saying, like, what do you want to hear? They have a booklet that has different songs?
I understand it. They would come in and they may have different people there and culturally from their country or so forth, and they would come in, they would say, you know, can you play me this? You know, and then what they do is they go on the internet and they find it, and then they play through the board, and if it has a video with it, they put the video up there. You say, I want Neil Diamond, you know, Brother Love's Traveling Salvation Show, which is a very uplifting song. I said, I really like that. Can you put that on? And they put it on, and it pops up, and you see him singing on it. And then you might come in and say, I like, you know, Sinatra. Can you do New York, New York for me or something?
Yeah, my question is that, you know, maybe new, I did have a bar, but is that classified as live entertainment when you have the speaker system set up and all that? You know, are you, is the owner, is he the one there with the sing-alongs and all that, or do you have someone else doing it?
You have to be sworn in, sir. Raise your right hand, please.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name, sir?
Your name?
Please.
Oh, Uzo Nwasu.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, are you the one that does the sing-alongs if they request a certain song or music, or do you have someone else that comes in and does that?
I usually do it myself.
So, if I may, Mr. Chair, with the inspector, when you came in, who was at the station with the music?
It was not this gentleman.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Anything?
Yeah, Inspector Tudhope, a couple questions. So you said that there was a soundboard there.
Yes, sir.
You also suggested that there was someone there with a microphone.
He had earphones on with a microphone attached.
And did you see any speakers?
I did observe one
Amplifiers?
speaker. Yeah.
You did. Okay. So you would, I assume, constitute this as live entertainment based upon the definition of the rule and the catch-all of similar activities.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Nwasu, you were warned about this 2 days before you were issued, or your establishment was warned about this as being an issue 2 days before. If you had any concerns, about the verbal warning, did you reach out to the inspector or the agency to question?
I did.
You did. And
Yes.
and what took place?
I didn't get a response.
You didn't get a response. So you went ahead and 2 days later, based on the record, you did the same thing?
It couldn't have been 2 days later.
Well, based on our records, that may be the case. You may have other information to suggest otherwise, but our record and what Inspector Tudhope testified to is that she provided Mr. Momzo a warning on May 26th, a verbal warning, just saying this is a problem. And then on May 28th, and she's acknowledged that the music wasn't loud, right? So that I respect that. But then 2 days later, she went back in and the same thing was occurring, and she issued the warning. So, or not the warning, the citation, so the violation. So you didn't get, who did you reach out to in the liquor board?
Her.
And you have no record of that, Miss?
No, sir, I have no record of anything.
I do.
Okay,
I have
you do.
text
Okay.
messages, like, a lot. A lot.
Okay.
I don't recall any text messages. I could be wrong. I could look back, but I don't.
Okay. All right. Nothing further.
But, and just, when you refer to a soundboard, there's a difference between a soundboard and a mixing board. I'm not trying to be real technical,
Yeah,
but
no,
I mean,
no,
you
I
have all these buttons, so you can do the treble, bass, and you can mix them. You have a headset on, so you, while you're listening to this song and this one, you can cue up whatever you want to do. You want the next song, you want Sinatra, so you're getting him ready, to come on. But you're not, I think it's sort of, if you're right, you're going to have rules. I think you really ought to get it. And what you're saying when it says, and similar activity, what does that mean, and similar? I mean, it's really a catch-all. You could want to say anything in there. Somebody decides the bartender wants to sing Secondhand Rose because he likes it. And you say, well, there's a similar activity. Or does a magic trick behind the bar.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you, and I think that the rule needs to be revisited. But I also think that, it sounds to me like there was, under the current rule, similar activities that would substantiate, based on the facts, the requirement of a live entertainment authorization. So, but I do agree that that the rule needs to be updated.
Another.
Okay. Thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.14, live entertainment without authorization on May 28, 2022, and I find a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on May 28, 2022. I think there was sufficient circumstantial evidence for the inspector to charge the DJ as a violation of our live entertainment rule, and I think there's sufficient evidence based on her observation to charge the illegal conduct for the violation of the health code under the smoking charcoal hookah inside. I would agree with you, Mr. Kadensky, that these are not tremendously significant violations, particularly since there is some confusion about what you can and cannot do, although, as Commissioner Greenfield points out, he was admonished about it, and I don't know what happened, but he was doing it 2 days later when they came back. The other problem is he's got a very bad record. A number of violations. He's had the license since 15. This is the 5th time he's been before the board for violations in that time.
And I don't want to interrupt, but most of them were for prohibited hours,
right?
Which we don't have here.
I understand it's different, although we do have sale to minors and whatever. So it's, what to do. So as to each of these violations, I would impose $350 fines for a total of $700 and give them 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
Based upon the charging documents, the proffer, the testimony, I too find a violation of Rule 4.14, live entertainment without authorization. I will concur with the imposition of a $350 fine. I find a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, on May 28, 2022, and will also concur with the imposition of a $350 fine.
Yes, based on testimony materials provided today, I also agree with the chair's findings. A violation of Rule 4.14, live entertainment without authorization on May 28, 2022, and at a fine of $350, and also one violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, May 28, 2022, and a fine of $350 with a total fines of $700.
Russell?
Exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, violation report, Inspector Tudhope. Board Exhibit 2, service request summary report dated 5/26/22. 3, service request summary dated 5/28/22. 4, Baltimore City Health Code, and 5, Baltimore City Building, Fire, and related codes.
All right, thank you. Next case, please.
Yep, that concludes this matter before the board. Licensee has received instructions on how to pay the fines imposed by the board today and any attendant fees that go along with it. Then item number 5 on the violations docket moving forward is Powell Brothers Incorporated, trading as Spartan Pizzeria Restaurant. Premises is located at 3600 to 02 Eastern Avenue. Holder of a Class D beer and light wine license and is charged with 1 violation of the board's rules. That is a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, stemming from 1 incident on May 25th, 2022.
All right, thank you.
Morning.
And good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of the licensees here. It is an admission.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
See?
Mr. Singh, licensee Singh, is here, as well as Mr. Nahara, whose title at the establishment is cook. And that explains what happened on this instance. The place got very crowded, and Mr. Nahara, who is a great cook, ended up trying to facilitate with some customers in line, and in fact did not check ID for the purchase of the alcoholic beverages mentioned in the report. Mr. Nahara feels horrible, and in fact, so many of my clients, they say, well, we fired the person. And I often think it's much better to let somebody go through this process and see the gravity with which the licensee has to deal with. It makes them better employees. Now, Mr. Singh he's on the premises at least 60 hours a week, and in fact, he was in the back kitchen when the sale went down. Very hands-on in the neighborhood. Their family also owns Filippo's, a restaurant across the street. So there is a lot of management, hands-on management going on at that place. It was just an unfortunate incident. In order to remedy this, Mr. Singh is going to ensure that anyone who's even on emergency standby, if there's any chance they would ever serve, that they are going to be certified. But more importantly, to keep the service staff who are already trained, keep them in business rather than handing it off to other employees. So as you can see, it's a place with a good record, and we would submit on that. Thank you.
Agent, do you want to be sworn in, please?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give in the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And were they cooperative, Agent?
Agent Andy Perez, yes, they were very cooperative.
Any problems with them?
No problems.
All right. Commissioners?
No questions.
No, I just comment they have a great record, so.
Yes. All right. Mr. Fogelman, on the basis of the materials containing the charging documents, your proffer, which includes an admission of a violation, and the testimony, I find a violation of Rule 4.01, small a, sale to minor on May 25, 2022. In light of their record, I'd impose a $250 fine and give them 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
Based upon the charging document, the proffer, and the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on May 25th, 2022. In light of their very good record over the past almost 18 years, I too would concur with the imposition of a $250 fine.
Yeah, based on testimony provided today, I also agree with the chair's findings, and no violations since 2004. I agree with the chair's findings, a violation of Rule 401A, sales to minors, May 25th, 2022, and a fine of $250.
Ms. Russell?
Exhibits for the record. Board, Exhibit 1, violation report, Agent Perez.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensees will receive instructions from this agency on how to pay the fine imposed by the board today and any attendant fees that go along with it.
Thank you. I'm glad you didn't fire the pizza maker.
That's right. Thank you. Appreciate
it. Shall we move forward, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Item number 6 on today's docket has been postponed and will be rescheduled for a later date. Item number 7 on today's docket has been postponed and will be rescheduled for a later date. Item number 8 on today's docket has been postponed and will be rescheduled for a later date, which brings us to item number 9 on the violations docket. 517 Broadway LLC, trading as Main Street Bar and Liquors. Premises are located at 3724 Eastern Avenue. Holders of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and are charged with one violation of the board's rules, violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, stemming from an incident on May 25th, 2022.
For the record, Melvin J. Kaninsky, 320 North Charles Street, representing licensing.
Commissioner denial.
Well, I'm doing an admission this one, and I'm trying to give you a fairly long explanation because you have a history with the current licensee. They've been having problems for a while, before your board quite a few times. They made the decision before this last violation to try and sell the business and get a new operator and go forward. They have found the new person to buy. This is the old one. In fact, we have submitted the application. It's pending. We've explained to the new operator what the problems they had and make sure that, forewarned is forearmed in this case, and about having everybody alcohol certified. And in the meantime, they're working out a management agreement so that he can get in there now. All the people that were there before have been fired or have been left. And I know that it's a terrible record, but I think in the point here, what we had mentioned to you the last time we were here, that we're going to try to find somebody, and they did find somebody, and we have the application pending, and we should have a hearing coming up. And we're going to work on basically management agreements, and none of the old people are going to be there, and I'm going to make sure they have a card reader and have everybody being checked.
So the gentleman to your immediate right is going to be the new owner if we approve it?
Right.
Can we swear him for a second?
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Right.
And your name, sir?
Soros Puri,
How do you say your last name?
P-U-R-I.
Here's the copy.
Booty. Okay. And are you now running this establishment?
Yes.
Who's working there?
I have a new guy.
Uh-huh. And just the two of you?
Yeah.
And are either of you tip certified?
Alcohol certified. You're in the process of getting
Yeah, process, yeah.
I think Mr. Philippides is going to do them next week.
And this other gentleman is no longer involved at all?
That's Joshua. No, he's had it, I think.
Okay. And so I assume that you're getting some remuneration for running it at this time until he takes it over, right?
Yeah, they have put a deposit down and they're paying the rent and so forth while they're keeping the business going, keeping it alive. Otherwise, there won't be anything there.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions?
Mr. Kudinski, I guess the question I have is, given this record, why shouldn't we just suspend pending the transfer?
Well, as before, I'm an advocate for business and licensees. Any business that's open, that's operating, that creates income and generates jobs is better than none at all. And I understand your point, and I think it's a point well taken. However, at this point here, you have new management on the thing, and if anything would happen in the meantime, he's going to come up for a hearing in front of you. So you're going to say, not you personally, the board will say to them, you were here, we told you. Now we're not going to grant the transfer, and we may suspend indefinitely or whatever, but in the meantime, allow the people that are there to sort of like keep the business going as long as they operate it properly.
Thank you.
No questions? Okay. Do you have anything further?
Nothing further.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you have any, the new owners, do they have any experience in the bar business management or working in
the people that were working there, and the applicant here was pending working in Baltimore County with Mr. Mister, as a matter of fact. So he has some experience that way.
Okay. As long as there's awareness, I know there were former owners, whatever, with the violations going back to 2021, and they're going to be the new owners, but for the awareness of making sure you card check.
And in fact, the city resident, Ram KC, he's the owner of the building, and he's been there also along with it.
Okay. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, the proffer from counsel, which included an admission on behalf of his client of the violation, and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 4.01, small a, sale to minor on May 25, 2022. As to this, the current licensee, I'd impose a $1,000 fine and give him 30 days to pay it. As to the pending application, I would not suspend the license at this time to allow Mr. Puri an opportunity, but I will authorize our staff, in the event that there's any further violation between now and when he's approved, to suspend it immediately. Commissioners?
Based upon the charging document, the proffer, and the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on May 25th, 2022. Would concur with the imposition of a $1,000 fine for the current licensee, and also concur to the extent it's allowed the staff to be able to suspend immediately if there's a violation.
Yeah, based on the testimony provided today, I agree with the chair's findings. A violation of Rule 4.01A, sale to minors, May 25th, 2022, with the fine of $1,000, and also with staff, if any future violations, regards to suspension.
Ms. Russell?
I close it for the record. Violation report, Inspector Jordan.
Good luck. Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board.
Do you want this? Yes, did you make this part of the record?
You can put it in the file if you want.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Blendy, because I was trying to find out when they were going to schedule for a hearing. I think the sooner we can.
I think we're trying to get it in by August. So.
You got a plethora of ones that are there. You may have to go to the afternoon session. I'll bring
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensees received the fine imposed by the board today with instructions on how to remit payment and any attendant fees that go along with it, and staff notes the board's other authorization regarding suspension. Next matter, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Item number 10 on the violations docket, 542 North Lucerne Incorporated, trading as Club Lucerne. Premises are located at 542 North Lucerne Avenue. Holders of a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license charged with one violation of the board's rules. That is a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, stemming from an incident on May 25th, 2022.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Peter Previs on behalf of the licensee Mahari Mike Menjastab, who is to my right. This will be an admission.
Okay. Do you want to proffer?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, when this incident occurred, Mr. Menjastab's brother was working and served the cadet. Mr. Menjastab, it's usually two people at the premises. It kind of takes two people to run this place. And they ran out of change, and he had called an associate about finding some change. So his brother was there alone and a little short-handed and got slammed and let his guard down, and that's why this had occurred. With regard to the record, there are 3 prior incidences since the license was issued. One was for a BD7 violation. The other 2 were minor violations. I would refer the board to the computer printout on August 12, 2021. They did receive a letter of recognition for underage drinking compliance check on August 11, 2021. So yes, they do take this seriously. They're not ignoring their obligation. They just this had occurred, and they will be adamant not to let it happen again.
Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Previs. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents and your proffer, which includes an admission of the violation on behalf of your client and any other evidence received, I find a violation of Rule 4.01, small a, sale to minor, on May 25, 2022. I'd impose a $1,000 fine and give him 30 days to pay.
Based upon the charging document, the proffer, and the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minor, on May 25th, 2022, and concur with the imposition of a $1,000 fine.
Yes, based on the testimony and materials provided today, I also agree with the chair's findings. A violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, on May 25th, 2022, and the fine of $1,000.
Ms. Russell?
Close it for the record. Violation report, Inspector Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Previs. Good luck.
I would like to note for the record and for Mr. Kadensky's case that I like the cadets' new blue pants instead of the old khaki.
We appreciate that. I'm sure they do too.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee has received instructions from this agency on how to pay the fine imposed by the board today and any attendant fees that go along with it. The final matter, Mr. Chair?
Please.
All right, it'll take me a minute to read this. Item number 11 on today's violations docket. Haven Place Incorporated, trading as Haven Place. Premises are located at 400 to 02 North Haven Street. Licensees hold both a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and a Class AE adult entertainment license and are charged with several violations of the board's alcoholic beverages rules and adult entertainment rules as follows. 1, a violation of Liquor Board or Alcoholic Beverages Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, stemming from an incident on April 27th, 2022. 2, a violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05, which is incorporation of liquor license rules and regulations to applicable licensee for that underlying 4.01A charge. 3, a violation of Alcoholic Beverages Rule 3.02, cooperation for the actions of employee agent Eugene Francis Levito from the incident on April 27, 2022. 4, a violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05, incorporation of liquor license rules and regulations to applicable licensee for that underlying incident of the Alcoholic Beverages Rule. 5, violation of Rule 3.02, cooperation for the actions of employee agent Jennifer Marie McKee, stemming from the incident on April 27, 2022. 6, violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05, incorporation of liquor license rules and regulations to applicable licensee for that underlying Alcoholic Beverages Rule violation. 7, violation of Alcoholic Beverages Rule 3.12, general welfare, stemming from one incident on April 27, 2022. 8, a violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.04, incorporation of liquor license rules and regulations to applicable licensee for that underlying violation of Rule 3.12. That is all the charges, Mr.
Just
Chair.
to clarify the record, Mr. Plenty, I think the last violation was not properly cited, right? So we're going to dismiss it?
I believe that's the case, as we noted. So I would agree that the charge is improperly charged and therefore should be dismissed.
Okay.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, 320 North Charles Street, and to some extent, I think some of these are duplicitous. I'd make that for the record, a motion for the record. And
You mean duplicative, right?
well, you have the same charge for each side, so you're giving like a double banger on each charge that's there. So if it's
They have
failure
two
to cooperate, how many people can do failure to cooperate?
They have 2 licenses.
If it's the same incident, it all arises out of the same incident. That's my problem. But we'll listen to the testimony. I think we can work it out from there.
Do you going to be denials of all?
Yes.
All right.
And the one was dismissed on the record, correct?
Yes, the final violation. So who's going to testify on behalf of the board? Please come up, be sworn. Well, can we swear all of these folks?
Oh, you just raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, so before you testify, each of you, please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Can we move this over here for you a little bit?
Rosalba Jordan.
Yes, so what do you want to tell us, Inspector?
Yes. On April 27th, 2022, the Liquor Board, Inspector Todd Hope, myself, and the Baltimore City Police Department Vice Unit, included Detective LeBron and Sergeant Leisher, conducted a random joint investigation of establishments to determine if licenses would sell alcohol beverages to minors. Working with our 2 agencies, where undercover capacity were police cadets Miles and Anderson, who at the time of the investigation were under the legal age of 21. Prior to the investigation, the departmental $20 bill was photographed so it could later be used as evidence. So at approximately 9:50, the cadets entered the establishment known as Haven Place, located at 400 Haven Street. At this time, the cadets were successful in ordering.
I object to that because you weren't there. You weren't there when they made the purchase, were you?
When they made the purchase, no, I wasn't in
Well,
there.
I'm going to have them testify, but she can, hearsay is not going to be it.
For the right, I understand.
We're setting context, okay.
At the time, the cadets were successful in ordering 2 Jose Cuervo drinks while seated at the bar. Once the drinks were furnished, the cadets attempted to exit the establishment. However, they were detained by male employee Eugene Francis
Same
Lovito.
objection if she wasn't there, but
Overruled, go ahead.
Date of birth 8/29/1954. Mr. Lovito was observed blocking the exit by placing himself between the cadets and the doorway. Once the cadets were able to safely exit the premises, members of the Baltimore City Police Department Vice Unit contacted the cellar bartender, who identified herself as Jennifer Marie McKee, date of birth 4/11/1985. Baltimore Vice Unit members informed the cellar bartender that at the time she had sold to underage cadets. She became very agitated and proceeded to exit the establishment to smoke. Once outside, she noticed the cadets waiting in the unmarked police vehicle and attempted to open the rear vehicle door.
Same objection.
Overruled.
She was unable to make contact with the cadets as the vehicle was locked. And both agencies, following all that, left safely.
Before you cross her, let me get the cadet's testimony, okay? So, who's going to go first?
I'll go first.
State your name, please.
Cadet Keon Miles.
Okay. And on April 27, 2022, were you at Haven Place and were you served alcohol?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what happened then?
After we got the alcohol, we were instructed not to leave until the officers came in. So once the officers came in, we left. Well, we tried to leave until the gentleman stepped in front of Anderson right here and told him, I knew you were cadets, and then proceeded to stop him until the officer came over and said, you have to let them leave until we left the establishment.
Okay. And did you also observe this bartender outside?
Yes, sir.
And what happened there?
She came outside questioning where we were until she seen us inside the vehicle, and then she proceeded to come on my side of the car and open the door.
Did you have exchanged words with her?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you have any other contact with these people?
No, sir.
May I ask the other cadet, please, to testify? Your name?
Cadet Cameron Anderson.
Okay. And you just heard his testimony. Was that accurate?
It was.
What happened to you when you tried to leave?
When I tried to leave, the gentleman put his hand on my chest and said, as Keon Miles said, that I knew you were a cadet. And then the officers came in and told him that we had to leave.
Were you in the car when this lady attempted to get in?
Yes, sir. We were both in the back seat.
Okay. And did she say anything to you?
Not to me directly, sir.
Okay. Cross-examination.
Yeah, and either one came. When the lady came up to the car, did she seem like she was very upset?
Yes.
All right, and then how far away was the car from the exit to the establishment? Would you say in the parking lot or?
Directly in front of the door, right on the side, from wouldn't take more than 5 seconds to get to it, maybe.
And who else was in the car besides you two?
Just us two.
All right, but in no time did she come into the car. She was just outside, trying. It looks like she was upset to talk to you. Correct? Did you say anything back to her?
No.
Okay. And anytime, when did she leave the car?
Perhaps when officers approached her and told her to leave.
Okay, which officer told her to leave?
I cannot remember off the top of my head.
How many officers were there?
It was 4.
And any of them here? Any other than the police officers here? Everybody's pointing. I don't know what that means.
Do you see any of?
There's no police officers here for the record. Okay. And when you went in, how many people were in the place when you went in?
It was relatively dead.
All right, when you say dead, there was very few people there.
It was very few people.
It's right next to the cemetery. In the, you made your purchase, did you ever take possession of the product that was given to you?
The alcohol, yes.
What did you do with it?
I didn't drink it.
Would you just leave it there?
Left it there.
All right. Did he, at that point, did Mr. Levito know that you were not 21?
He was suspicious.
Now, how would he know?
That's what I'm saying.
He
How
didn't
would he
guard
know?
it.
You were walking away from your drink, correct?
I mean, he was already suspicious that we were cadets before.
I got that. But you had a drink. You didn't drink your drink. You put your money down. You got paid, and you were walking away. And that's when he came in front of you, correct?
I wouldn't say that exactly because I'm fairly certain that he saw the officers walk in because that's when we decided to get up.
And the officer was in uniform.
Yes.
What kind of uniform did he have? Baltimore City Police Department uniform? Or was he undercover? I don't want to try to be cute on it. So how did he know that was a police officer coming? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I can't directly remember exactly the uniform that we were in.
All right, and at that point, how close were you to the door about leaving? Both, I'm saying both of you are together, right?
We were right next to each other.
Yeah. So at that point, the police officer said something to him, and you went out to your car, correct?
Yes.
And that's when the young lady came out, and you were in the car.
Yes.
You didn't have a confrontation with her other than she came over to the car, seemed agitated, but she didn't get into a verbal confrontation with you or try to pull you out of the car or anything, did she?
Well, she did attempt to open the rear door.
And the door was locked.
Yes.
And then after that, did she walk away or the police officers come out?
The police officer came out and they told her to leave.
She left.
Yes.
All right. And then she went back into the establishment, correct?
I think she had a smoke, a cigarette, and then she stayed outside for a while.
All right. And then at any time, did you provide any identification as to how old you were to anybody, other than the police officers?
No.
I have two questions. Cadet, how old were you on April 27, 2022?
19, sir.
Cadet, how old were you on that date?
19, sir.
19?
19, sir.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
But your identification, did you have that on your person, your ID?
In my pocket, yes.
Okay. So if for some reason they were going to ask you for your ID, you would have to show it to them, correct? You don't have to show how old you are. That's what I'm trying to get to. You went in, didn't show it, and everybody asked you didn't show it.
I never showed any ID.
Never show your ID. Okay. So how is that going to know how old you are?
Well, he's supposed to ask.
Yeah, I know, but when you said, can you show me, you said he's under 21, can I see your ID? That's what I would do.
Yep.
Okay. Just trying to make a point, that's all. I'm not trying to.
Okay. Anything further with the
No.
cadets?
Wait a minute.
I want to ask a question.
You're not going to be asking any questions.
After you got served, the drink was put in front of you. Did you have any conversation between yourself or anybody else before you left?
No.
How would anybody know you got served? How do you identify to the police or anybody else who aren't here that you got served?
That the police, are you asking how the police knew that we got served?
Yeah, how did they know that you?
We texted them.
Well, so you did do something. You had a conversation with them.
Not verbally.
Text. And then when he opened the door, that's when you were trying to leave, correct?
Yes.
I have nothing wrong.
Do you wish to present testimony?
Let me ask because you didn't.
Go ahead.
All right, so all these things you were reading to me, you didn't witness any of this.
I did witness the gentleman holding them in the doorway and place his hand on one of the cadets'
Where were you then
chest.
when that happened?
I was actually coming into the establishment myself.
But you didn't see anything that happened prior to that.
No, I wasn't in there when they were served.
Okay. And did you see the drinks at all?
I did see the drinks.
And you took pictures of it?
Yes.
All right. And the money, who did you get the money back from?
The police is in charge of the money.
And they're not here?
but we always have the
No, I did-
same. We always have the. Well, I'm just answering.
No, but you didn't, you can only say what you know. If they always did, you don't know if they did it or not in this case.
They usually do it, so I would
No.
assume they did.
I gotta retire.
I know the difference.
And how long were you on the premises?
I believe we were in there for maybe
Are the lights going?
10 minutes,
And then-
approximately.
And then when you went outside, did you go to the unmarked police car?
I heard what happened outside.
No,
I
no,
heard,
did you go to the car? I just let me ask you, yes or no?
no.
Okay. Did you have your own car?
Yes.
And then who was with you? Another member for the,
Inspector Todd Hope.
okay, so you two were together, and then the other's another car.
Yes, the police car.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay. Do you wish to present testimony?
Yeah. Mr. Levito, which? See the name, I thought it was like my cousin Vinny. State your name and address for the record, please.
Eugene F. Levito, address is 6736 and a half Boston Avenue.
And you were there that day and you were manager, is that correct?
Yes,
And you've been there for how many years?
5 years.
You heard the testimony is, when it happened there, was there a reason that you tried to stop them from leaving?
Yes. First off, I did ask him for ID. He said he did not have it. Now he's saying that he did have his ID in his pocket, both of them. They didn't produce it.
Dude, let me ask you this, I'm sure the judge is gonna ask you this question.
I
Did you
know.
ask them for ID before or after they got served?
Before,
Okay, and where were you in relationship to the, who was behind the bar?
I was behind the bar then
Okay,
because I wanted to see the ID.
all right, and who else was there working there? Who was the young lady who was working there with you?
Jen,
All right, what did she do?
she did what she was just waiting for me either to say yes or no.
Okay. And then when you were stopping them before they left, that you were asking them for ID there also?
No,
So
I just
why-
thought.
I'm asking you why you stopped them. They're gonna
I
probably-
stopped him because the drink was not paid, and then I realized when he didn't pay for it, okay, then those two guys were cadets.
Mhm.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
No, there was no money transferred, and they did not touch the liquor.
Anyone have any questions?
I don't. Commissioners?
But you served him a drink.
A drink was put on the bar. They never touched it.
It doesn't, under our rules, that doesn't matter, sir.
Yeah, but you were saying they never paid you for it either.
They never paid me either.
That's inconsequential.
He said his explanation, quid pro quo. Gave you something, you didn't pay for it, and you're walking out.
Right,
I just,
I hear you, but his argument is sort of
okay.
inaccurate. I mean, to say that he didn't give me ID, but I'm furnishing him a drink and waiting for him to pay it, it still violates the law under our rules. That's why I'm trying to understand. I understand his point. He asked for the ID, the cadet didn't give the ID, but he still furnished it expecting payment.
I think when he was waiting for them to produce the ID, and then they walked away. Now, I'm not going to let him testify that, not me.
None of us were there. Do you have anything else?
I wasn't there, no. And the police officers, guess what?
But they did submit
Not us.
a report. So, anything else?
Just to the young lady. Move on, sign, please. Give your name and address for the record.
Jennifer Marie McKee, 6849 Belclair Road.
And how long you been working there?
Like 6 months.
All right, and you were new there, correct?
Yes.
And you were being tutored by Mr. Levito as to how to do things, correct?
Yeah.
When you went outside, why did you go outside after the car?
I was really upset about everything that happened, and I just wanted to ask the cadets if they had it on video camera or on recording to make me feel better of the way the situation went down.
But did anybody?
But nobody spoke with me. They didn't answer me. Like, I didn't even get to ask them a question. I just knocked on the window, and I felt that they couldn't hear me, so I did try to grab the handle, which I shouldn't have. But I just wanted to ask them if I could talk to them for a minute, and that's why I wanted to ask them about if they had it on recording or on camera, like how the officers knew when to come in.
whatever
She
that
did, I
was.
can verify that. She did tell me that immediately after
You
it
gotta
happened.
come up, you wanna testify. You gotta
Well, I
come
will
up.
testify.
Right.
I will testify. I want to
You
say.
gotta give your name and address.
Oh,
for
I'm
the-
sorry, I'm sorry. Angelina Thrasher, 2014 Cranbourne Road, Timonium, Maryland, 21093. I first of all want to say I take what you do very seriously. Underage drinking is a problem all across the world. My husband, for almost 50 years, works very, very closely with law enforcement. People respect what he does, tries to run a tight ship. I apologize that all of this is happening. You know, I certainly uphold everything that you guys do, but there have been times, generally it's 90% of the time, my husband isn't there when all of these occurrences happen. I know anytime there is any suspicion that someone isn't of age, he cards and they leave. This particular night, it happened a little differently. We got a phone call. We were coming home from Virginia. It was on speaker. We both heard. I verify everything that Mr. Levito and Jen say. She did go out to the car because she said, I'm hoping that they had a wire on them, that they heard Gino ask for the cards. That you guys, though, I remember them both saying, you sat down at the bar, there was a conversation that was several minutes long, and you were sitting right next to Gino. So it wasn't coming in, yes, no, we serve you, we don't serve you, but there was a prolonged conversation before the confrontation.
Could we have testimony that she actually has personal knowledge of?
And testimony is what?
That she has personal knowledge of?
Well, then the other ones didn't have personal knowledge and they testified for what
Yeah.
it's worth.
I know, but it's all,
Both of them, it's not hearsay, because they both cooperated
Ma'am,
exactly what I'm saying.
it's an out-of-court statement offered for the truth.
I think they wanted to
I think
go
I know
off
the
chest,
difference.
I mean-
Okay, but
Yeah, I
I have
do.
a
I
question
do
for you,
because-
Ms. Thrasher.
What's that?
I have a question for you.
Sure, of course.
So, you've had this license since 1990, and for 18 years you had no violations at all. And there was a violation in 2008, and then another 10 years. And in the last 3 or 4 years, you've been in here regularly. So what's going on?
Well, again, if you look at most of those instances, are you talking about Norman Stamp? And
I'm just
are you
asking,
talking about,
why all these recent violations? You had a great record.
we did have a great record when the area didn't become so drug infested. I mean, we can talk about that as it pertains to the entire country, not just our city. But again, we value what they do. I know you guys are probably thinking I'm just full of hot air. I do value what you do. Honestly, I can look at you. I'm not upset for you doing your job. I'm
Can
not.
I speak now?
Go ahead. I can't.
Charles Thrasher, I'm the licensee. I've been working at that bar since 1974.
Prior to that, he owned it.
My dad.
He owned it for
He
11
from
years.
67. I came to work there 74. I helped him out from 74 to the first month of 80 when he passed away. He left me the bar.
He owned the property there too, also.
Yeah, I used to own the whole block. I bought every house, on that block. I sold a few since then, but that's not important. But in the 47 years I've been there, I can probably list on my hands how many times I've called the police. I've never called the police. I take care of everything myself. I don't know any policemen here. But in the past, I used to know tons of them. Okay, so I handled everything myself. I treated people right. They came back. I made a good business for myself. Yeah, well, I'm in the twilight of my career, but I have been away a little bit more, and that probably, bodes to why things are a little different. But I'm hands-on. I'm there every day, not every night, but every day. And you can ask them if I cooperate with them. Was I cooperative with you when you came in there? Was I very pleasant? Was I, hi, how are you? Have I ever been mean to you? Ever talked to you? Never talked down to anybody. I'm very respectful. I've lived my whole life that way. I don't understand. I understand what they did and why they were agitated. They were upset. you know, and that's basically what happened in that situation. So,
Commissioner Reisinger had a question.
Yes. Question number one is, you changed management personnel in the past 5 years, piggybacking on what the chair was
yes, I
asking.
have.
You have, so the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. The other question is, reading the report, is that when the cadets came in, they're supposed to have a $20 bill that was marked and photographed. Did you get a question? I don't know who, Mr. Chair. Was the $20 given to the board?
I wasn't here. I wasn't
I'm
there.
asking the cadets, were the $20 given to them and you received change?
No, sir.
So there was no $20 bill?
We did not give him the $20 bills yet.
So was it paid for? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, no, not yet.
No, that's why we stopped them.
She said it was.
That's why he stopped them. You're not even paying for your drink. Your ID, then you're not going to pay for the drink.
My concern is that with the cadets, the agents, is that for them to be detained and have someone put their hands on, that does leave a bad taste in my mouth. That's a statement. I'm just trying to figure out in regards to $20 bill and how it was
No
paid.
money was exchanged.
No, sir, I didn't put my hands on it. I actually just went like.
Question to the board up to determine.
I'm done, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair, for clarity's sake, may I just read the 401A in its entirety? That's 3. Sorry about that. The charge for the sale to minor, as it reads in the board's rules, Rule 4.01A, a licensee or any employee or agent of the licensee may not sell or furnish any alcoholic beverages at any time to a person under 21 years of age for the underage person's own use or for the use of any other person.
So they don't have to pay.
It's part of my argument. I'll give it to you in a second here. I don't want to make this, Supreme Court case here. I think that you have to look at the two things. So far, everybody, we know for a fact, they never put the $20 up. In most of the cases you hear, they pay the $20, they get changed, they go out, and they come back in, they get the $20 bill back, and they give them. We know that didn't happen here. That seemed verified with Mr. Levito said. You say furnish it to them. If I put it in front of you and you don't ever touch it, the question is, did you ever get it or take possession of it? That's an argument that's been made before by myself and Mr. Priest. I understand your thinking on it. In the meantime, if in fact they're walking out without paying, you would think, hey, they're trying to get out of here without paying for their drink. Whether he touched them or didn't touch them, it seems plausible that he would stop them. And in no time, if he said he was asking for ID and they said they had ID, of course you have to believe whether he asked for them or he didn't. I think it's the kind of thing, A, were they minors? Yes, they were minors. A, did they come in to order drink? Yes, let's go past that. Did they pay for it? They didn't pay for it. 2, where they furnished it, that's a determination you're gonna have to make. Number 2, all the rest of it, it just seemed like it snowballed one on top of the other, and I think that's why they're here, because they were reasonably upset about the whole thing and said, give me a little more information. What puzzles me here is where are the police officers? I mean, they certainly would be critical testimony here, and they're not here. And usually they're here, and we had this disappearing 20 about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm not trying to make it minimize what happened. I know Mr. Thrasher for the whole time he had the license, and his wife. I knew his dad when he was there, just to show you how old I am, when he ran it. And it's off of Pulaski Highway in Haven Place. It's not a kind of place where you're going to have minors that go in there, and it's an adult entertainment. And what you're doing here, when you find a violation on both sides of it, it's stacking. And I always used to object to that, but I'll submit at that point as far as the cooperation. And I think that's a little bit blown out of proportion there.
Commissioners have any further questions?
No further questions.
No questions.
Okay. I just want to clarify. So, Cadet, were you given a $20 bill by the police officers?
Yes, sir.
What were you told to do with it?
We were told once we got the drinks, we would have to pay.
You would have to pay.
Like we would pay for it.
But you didn't.
No, sir, because during the conversation we weren't like in a rush, I would say, to sit down and have to pay.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand.
That's probably where the confusion comes from Mr. Levito, which is that, in part, if we take him, I mean, he was sworn under oath, so he was expecting you to pay, and you guys walked out without paying. Okay.
If I can explain, you have the process to be sworn in.
Yes, you have to be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the answers that you give and the statements that you make will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Chief Chris Malice, Baltimore City Liquor Board. Just to clarify how the procedure happens, the cadets are given a photographed $20 bill. Typically, when they go into a packaged good location, they pay for the product and they walk out. If they go into a seated bar, they sit, they order the drinks. Many times they're furnished because people don't collect the money up front. They'll start a tab or whatnot. So when they're seated at the bar, once they order the drinks and the drinks are put in front of them, they're instructed to send a text to the group message saying I was furnished. Sometimes the money gets exchanged between us coming in and them leaving. Sometimes they haven't collected the money yet. So that's why sometimes money is exchanged, sometimes money is not exchanged.
Okay.
But just, in this case, it was an exchange, and it didn't offer, and you weren't, Jay. Okay, I just want to make sure. And were they given a real $20 bill? Because we're coming across this thing now where they're given a photocopy.
I mean, we know that police photocopy the bill before they give it to them. We go through this every time.
I think that's against the law to do that. I'm just want to
Take a
know, there'll be a
picture of
federal
a-
crime here. We might well get to this to
Well,
keep off.
you go charge the police officers.
If-
Let's,
Mr. Chair, if the chair and the commissioners want, I can read the underlying statute that is the basis for the rule, or if that confuses matter, I'll just be quiet.
I don't need it.
Okay.
Do you have anything further? Anybody else? Okay. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents and all the testimony received and the arguments from counsel. So in my view, I believe that there was sufficient evidence here to establish a violation of Rule 4.01 small a sale to minor on April 27, 2022, and that triggers a violation of their adult entertainment license, Rule 3.05, for the same offense. As to the other arguments about the cooperation of Mr. Levito, I didn't particularly like the fact that you were physically trying to stop them. I agree with Commissioner Reisinger about that. But I think there was confusion about what was going on. And as to Ms. McKee, I have no doubt that you lost your cool and behaved like a bit of a fool in public, but I'm not going to charge. I'm not going to adopt those either. So you've got a record in recent times of selling to minors, back in 2019, back in 2018, back in 2008. So it's not your maiden voyage here. I appreciate what you say. You've had this license for a very long time, and for a long time, no violations at all. Taking all that into account, I would impose a fine of $1,000 as to the Rule 4.01A violation, and a fine of $500 as to the Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05 violation, and I would dismiss the others, but it's up to the other commissioners as to what they want to do.
Right, so
I give you 30 days to pay it.
Based upon the charging document, the testimony, it's clear to me, as the chairman suggests, that this sort of escalated into a situation that there was a lot of kind of confusion. But at the end of the day, the cadets were furnished with alcohol, and I think for those reasons, I'd find you in violation of both licenses, and would agree with the chairman to dismiss the rest based upon a situation of confusion and misunderstanding. So for that, I would find a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors on April 27, 2022. Concur with the imposition of a $1,000 fine. I also find a violation of the Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05, incorporation of liquor license rules and regulations to the applicable licensee on April 27, 2022, and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine, and agree with the chairman to dismiss the remainder of the charges.
Yes, based on testimony and materials provided today, I also agree with the chair's findings. A violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minor on April 27, 2022, of a fine of $1,000, and also the violation of Adult Entertainment Rule 3.05 on April 27, 2022, with the fine of $500.
For the record, would you?
For the other case.
No, thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Russell?
I'd like to call the exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, violation report, Inspector Tudhope. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective LeBron.
All right, thank you, everyone.
That concludes this matter before the board. Council and licensees have received instructions from this agency on how to pay the fines imposed today and any attendant fees that go along with it. And that is every matter before the board.
You want to read the adjournment then, Mr. Blendy?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City stands in recess until Thursday, July 28th, 2022 at 10:30 a.m. here in City Hall, room 215. That off the record?
Yes, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to the commissioners, the staff, and the cadets, and everyone for their cooperation today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.